Other interesting political news, you have Vivek and Tucker Carlson roasting Nikki Haley and Kamala Harris, going viral, getting over 4 million views on X, also known as the Twitter. Now, I'll just play the first 4 minutes, but you have Tucker Carlson tweeting, and he says, quote, "You thought Democrats were going to dump Biden for Gavin Newsom, but they're not. They're backing Nikki Haley instead," unquote. Again, not only did you get this video clip get 4.1 million views, it also got 70,000 likes, which is some of the most likes I've ever seen, bar none. Though, if you also take the minute to appreciate and like this video, I greatly appreciate it. I'd give it a thumbs up. Statistically speaking, it won't pass 70,000. However, a wise pilot once said, "Never tell me the odds." Without further ado, I'll play the clip really quick.
If you're a Democratic mega donor, this is a very tough moment for you. Your candidate is going to lose. All the polls show that. Joe Biden will not be elected president if current trends continue. So you need to make a change. But there's a problem, and that problem is Joe Biden's running mate. She's half Jamaican. Therefore, she's holy. You can't criticize her, much less demote her. That's not allowed. You are stuck with Kamala Harris, and she is even more unpopular than Joe Biden. So what do? Well, if you're smart, maybe you subvert the other party. Maybe you back a Republican candidate who's actually a Democrat, whose priorities are identical to yours. And of course, they found one. Her name is Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is a liberal. She is all in on the 4 tenets of neoliberalism, which are white guilt, a finance-based economy, mass immigration, and endless neocon wars. Strip away all the outward characteristics, and Nikki Haley is identical in her priorities to Joe Biden and the people who back Joe Biden. Watch this tape. This is from last month. Nikki Haley explaining with a straight face that actually Vladimir Putin was behind the October 7th attacks in Israel.
Remember when I told you Putin hit rock bottom? Hamas invaded Israel and did all that brutality on October 7th. October 7th is Putin's birthday. Who's the happiest person in the world right now? Putin. Why?
What?
Because the U.S. and the West took all their eyes off of Ukraine, and what did we do? Started looking at Israel. Did Putin call Netanyahu? Nope, not for 10 days. You know who he did call? Hamas. They came the next day and they held hands and said they were friends. We now know the Russian intelligence is what helped Hamas know how to get through that barrier. See the connection. If we supported Ukraine and supported Israel, that's only 5% of our defense budget.
See, Putin and Ukraine are actually integrally connected to Hamas and Israel, and we need to spend all of our attention and all of our money on those matters rather than on our own country, which is degrading faster than most people can even keep track of. Well, that's completely insane, of course, but it's also something that Joe Biden might say were he capable of speaking that lucidly, and it's certainly something that Joe Biden's biggest donors agree with, which is why many of them are now backing Nikki Haley. See how this works? Vivek Ramaswamy does. He's actually engaged in this. He's running for president, and he's figured out what's actually going on. He joins us now. Vivek, thanks so much for coming on. What have you noticed about the kind of subtext to this race? What's actually going on here, do you think?
Yeah, well, look, I've been convinced for a long time, Tucker, that this was not going to be a standard Trump versus Biden race.
Right.
There's just been enough staring you in the face that made that obvious, right? You start with the trials and the civil trials and the prosecutions, and then they go to the non-prosecution and illegal removals from a ballot without trial on the Trump side. The thing that fascinated me about the Biden side of this, though, is you also see some of the same dynamics. The documents case for Biden trotting itself out after years, long ago in the Senate. You see a lot of other things with Biden. Why is the Hunter stuff coming out now when this has been known for 7 years? And so where I thought this was going was Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama or whichever other puppet they're trotting out to replace Biden. But one of the things that's become clear to me is that's where I thought this was going. It was not what was meeting the eye, for sure. I think what's become clear to me now, I'm in the thick of this GOP primary, is that the real puppet they're trotting out isn't Gavin Newsom. It isn't Michelle Obama. I was wrong about that, actually. I think the true puppet masters, the thing about them is they're fundamentally nonpartisan in nature. There's a few things they care about. Keeping the foreign war machine humming is high on the list. Keeping the administrative state's control of the United States is also high on the list. They found a much more convenient puppet within the Republican Party itself. It's not Gavin, it's not Michelle, it's Nikki, actually. And I think that if you just follow exactly who are the very people who are paying to keep Donald Trump off the ballot, who are funding the lawsuits that keep Trump off the ballot, the Reid Hoffmans of the world funding lawsuits against Trump, the Larry Finks of the world, king of the woke industrial complex, CEO of BlackRock. It's just obvious and hiding in plain sight.
Well, you also forgot Jamie Dimon, one of the most successful CEOs on the planet. He's the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. He actually told people, he recommended people and businesses to actually give to Nikki Haley. So there's a lot of people that are putting money behind her. It'd be fascinating to see which super PAC actually has the most resources at this time. But, I mean, it's known that a lot of people who used to support DeSantis are all shifting over to Nikki Haley, which is why she briefly, one of the reasons I believe she briefly went ahead of him in the poll aggregators. And it'll be interesting to see with these additional resources, can she went below again, albeit we'll see how brief it may or may not be, but she has a lot of resources at her hand. It'll be interesting to see how she could utilize it. But back to Vivek.
Who are these people propping up? It's not Biden, and it's not even Gavin Newsom. It's Nikki Haley within the Republican Party itself. And I think that that makes for a very convenient frontman, because then they actually have absolved themselves from any allegations of partisanship or Democratic partisanship against Donald Trump. They can say, oh, no, we're not partisans. We're actually bipartisan. Actually, the deep state, and I would say the managerial class more broadly, is fundamentally nonpartisan. They have their core objectives, and Nikki makes for a far better Trojan horse to actually accomplish that objective than anybody else. And so when you look at the dynamics within the mega donor class or otherwise, it is now crystal clear to me, Tucker, that let's just get to exactly the plan that they have. I mean, I've been alluding to this for a long time. I wanted people in the campaign trail and others to be able to draw their own conclusions. I don't want to stuff my views down people's throats. But I think it's just become crystal clear that it's now staring everybody in the face equally obviously, that they want to narrow this down. By they, I mean the system, the bipartisan system, wants to narrow this down to be a two-horse race between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. They want it one way or another, by hell or high water, take Donald Trump out, eliminate him from competition, one way or another, and prop Nikki Haley up to just waltz straight in to keep the war machine humming and to effectively keep the censorship industrial complex and the administrative state intact.
In terms of censorship, she also, as a friendly reminder, she wants to make you have no cloak at all. She wants you to be, if you want to comment on social media, she said everyone should have a specific profile and their name vetted. It has to be your actual name. So no anonymous tweets or responses, which, again, depending on where you work, that would hurt free speech, I would argue, because a lot of people, their employer, they might have the same political ideas, or even they might be annoyed you have a different sports balls team, and truth be told, they might use that to persecute you or fire you. So I think there's a big downside of having that type of a policy, because I think it would actually result in less free speech.
Exactly where it was in the post 9/11 Bush-Cheney era. That's exactly what's going on, and it's hiding in plain sight.
And the full interview is actually on Tucker's network, TCN. And again, they got 4.1 million views and 70,000 likes. And I suspect most people will be overwhelming support. But let's dive in the comments section and find out. Elon Musk is one of the most liked comments. He simply says, interesting. That got 7.3 thousand likes. E. Miles Trolling responded saying, nailed it. Haley is a Trojan horse, unquote. I got 1.6 thousand likes. Vince Langman says, quote, Nikki Haley is the Paul Ryan of Chuck Schumer's, unquote, getting 1.2 thousand likes. Zadok says, Nikki Haley flip-flops, and it looks like it is a video compilation of her flip-flopping on government censorship, gas taxes. Let me mute that. And a couple other topics. And that got 193 likes. Zagonel simply says, quote, Biden and Haley don't seem all that dissimilar. If Haley is somehow nominated, the GOP is on for a rude awakening, unquote. They got 233 likes. Gain of Fauci simply says, quote, all according to the plan and arrangement. And he has a video of saying Obama's third term, the arrangement. And he says the facade was always going to end with Obama railroading Biden in the end. This is always the plan. And remember, there was a viral moment where Obama, he was having an interview and they asked him if he wanted to run again. He said he'd like to, or he said, it's not loud. And he said something to the effect of he'd love to, have the job, but still be able to just wear sweatpants. Some to that effect. That did get 386 likes. Carl Sue says, quote, now I didn't see that coming. I really had my money on Michelle Obama. And there's a picture of the government building, the Senate. And it says, wake up, your government doesn't represent you anymore, unquote. And it got 470 likes. Clay Thompson says, quote, it's not about left versus right. It's about establishment versus people and good versus evil, unquote. I got 463 likes. Let's see here. Denny Green says, quote, without a doubt, if George Soros money isn't proof enough, just wait. There's much more coming. She's 100% liberal in every single way there is. From being a warmonger to government spending, she's now siding with Colorado and Maine, calling for Trump's removal. Pure female dog, unquote. Granted, I did edit that last word. That got 610 likes. One of the most liked comments. Let's see here. Carolina says, quote, simply correct. In spring, they will pressure Trump to accept her as VP. We can't allow that neocon near power ever. And instead of Big Brother watching you, which is a callback to some of George Orwell's most brilliant work, it says Big Mother is watching you, and is a picture of Nikki Haley. I got 298 likes. Do one or two more. Machiavelli says, quote, Nikki Haley is a globalist warmongering uni-party cuck, unquote, getting 645 likes. Joshua Walker chimed in saying, quote, the only option is Donald Trump, unquote, getting 452 likes. And as I do another quick scroll, looks like overwhelming positive responses. And a lot of people having video compilations of her flip-flopping on issues, which, let's see here. Let's see here. And a lot of people saying they prefer Vivek. A lot of people are saying Vivek. Probably the top comments in terms of like, who do they support. A lot of people are saying, stand with Trump, stand with Vivek. Those are the two, in terms of other politicians being noted, those are the two most viral ones. So again, it'll be interesting to see because, again, Vivek is still very far in the polls. And the poll aggregators, granted, those polls are sample size between maybe 300, and I think the largest sample size was a little under 5,000 people that were polled. And again, polling is a science in and of itself. It can be manipulated, unfortunately. If you just change the vernacular of how you ask a question, you can get a different result than one you may desire. So they can certainly be skewed, but trying to work with what data we have. And right now, it's just not pushing him up ahead in the polls. In the primaries, it'll be interesting to see, when the tires hit the pavement, so to say, how much of this social media actually has a correlation on his campaign, and could it propel him further to surpass the other candidates who are sometimes, they're usually double him in the polls, with Vivek right under 5%, Nikki Haley is around 11%, DeSantis around 12%, and Donald Trump is usually around 60 to 62%. And of course, Chris Christie is hanging in there about 3.4%, Aisha Hutchinson around 0.8%. So I'll be interested to see. Let me know in the comments, do you think, these videos are going viral, there's a lot of people commenting on social media saying they agree with Vivek. Do you think at the end of the day it'll help boost him in the polls? What actions do you think he isn't doing that he might need to do in order to realistically get that nominee when, again, he's very, very much far behind? As usual, it'll be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, I'm trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of January, so if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback on how I can improve the show, make it better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.